Conversations. I'm your host, Doris Ballard. This program is available on Concord TV's Channel 22 and on demand at yourconcordtv.org. And also on YouTube channel as well as on iTunes as a free podcast. My guest today is someone you might recognize every time you go into Red River Theaters, and that would be Katie Mosher, the Events and Marketing Manager for the theater. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's interesting, and I've got to share with our viewers and listeners why I asked you to be on the program today. And that's because you started working with Red River Theaters while you were in high school and then college. And now, lo and behold, you are now the Events and Marketing Manager for Red River Theaters. So you're an example of how working as a student can turn into a career for a student.
Yes, and I'm just as surprised as you are to see that journey, because it's sort of, you start off and you're like, I need a part-time job, I need something to do after school, make some extra money to do whatever, help pay for school and things like that. So I started off at Red River in 2007, and I remember meeting the executive director for the first time during that summer, and it was like one of my first interviews for jobs.
At 17 years old.
17, and it was only my second job interview ever, and it was just like, I think I'm a little bit better now at interviews and just overall just being really confident in myself. But it was one of those things where it's like, oh gosh, I was nervous. And Robbie, who was the executive director at that time,
That would be Robbie Farshman. Yeah.
she was a little imposing for me. She's super friendly. She was great to work with, but she was definitely a little scary for me at first.
Yeah.
So it was starting off from that interview and thinking about going back to that, being 17 and it being the summer, and and looking at me now and looking at the theater now, it's super cool to think about just how both of us have evolved along together. And so it's very cool to see an organization develop and change as much as I feel like I've developed and changed over those last almost 9 years now.
9 years,
crazy.
right. It's a long time for someone that's a teenager to today, you're 26 years old, to be with an organization. So I'm thinking that you must have caught the Red River Theater's passion.
Oh, for sure. It helps that the whole endeavor is a community endeavor, and it feels like a family. You go back, and it felt like coming back home every summer or winter when I was coming back to work, to just see all these people that I'd worked with and to see the theater change. And sometimes it'd be like a little change here, some new staff member or something like that, and then there'd be big changes like when we went digital. Like I was away at the time, and then it's like, whoa, we have digital projectors now. I had asked Barry Steelman, who's the programming coordinator now, and he's had many hats at Red River in the past, and he's one of those founding members of the theater. And I asked him, I was like, oh, can you show me how to use the 35 millimeter projectors? He's like, you don't need to know that. You won't have to know that like ever again, because now with the click of a button you can start a movie, which is very cool. But to see from those projectors to now we have this digital system and all these changes, it's great. So I ended up feeling really passionate about it, and just coming back and feeling really comfortable. And it's nice to go back to a place and to get in the rhythm of everything and to feel really connected to all those people and to that experience, and bringing that to the people of Concord, because that's what I love, is seeing new people come in, seeing regulars come in, and just so many personalities. And that's what I really want, is a place that I can go and that people know my name and people know like what I like to. Because there are some people I'm like, oh, I know they're gonna want decaf coffee. I better make some decaf right away, or just knowing all these cool community members is so nice. And
It is a gathering place almost for the community.
Oh, yes,
right?
Yes, definitely.
But now you're reaching out, Red River Theaters is reaching out beyond Concord for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but we're going to talk a lot about the events part of Red River Theaters, because that's what you do as event and marketing manager. But at 17 years old, you started at floor staff, so you pretty much did everything. Tell us what the floor staff person does.
Oh, so floor staff is basically what we call our box office and concession staff. And so that starts like, selling tickets, selling memberships, cleaning bathrooms at the end of the night, cleaning up spills of popcorn, giving people popcorn.
So you have to go clean the popcorn too, off the floor in the middle of between movies?
So yeah, like if like there's a spill in the lobby, floor staff would sometimes go in and clean that up, and then usually our managers are the ones who clean the theaters in between shows, so that we can have a nice, super clean environment. So we don't do a lot of cleaning theaters as floor staff. That's usually the management.
But you sell the tickets?
Sell the tickets, sell the
membership
memberships.
as well.
Did some donations too, help manage events, do all sorts of things. It's kind of funny to think about, like I've sold tickets and I've made popcorn and I've, helped doing inventory and I've done the database and things like that. So it's, floor staff, it really starts with selling tickets, selling popcorn, and being a resource for the folks who come into the theater. Because you never know, we have people who are like, I'm lost, I don't understand where I'm going, or how does this parking garage work? And there's all those things, and you're just, you're
Never
there
think
for
about
them.
the parking garage
Yes.
situation, right?
Exactly, and and again, the parking garage has changed over time too. Before they had that the kiosk, it just had this lever, and sometimes it just would never go up.
That was
folks.
fun.
So definitely some good stories.
It's changed
of that.
for the best.
Again, parking garage has improved, and I think overall people have been able to navigate the space over the years.
Good reason to go to Red River Theaters. You can park in the parking garage, and if it's snowing or bad weather, you don't have to come out and clean your car.
No, it's awesome.
great.
I love it.
I
And
know.
then and it's free after 5.
Yeah,
It's free on the
there you go.
weekends. Super easy
Perfect.
to use.
So there is plenty of parking to go to Red River
Plenty
Theaters.
of parking. So
Okay.
people say, "Oh, you're downtown. I don't know where to park." You can park in the garage.
Sure.
And there are lots of spaces, especially on the weekends when the reserved spaces are open. So.
All right, continuing with your story and
yes.
the parallels to your growth to Red River Theaters. I love that, and that's something that you brought up that I hadn't thought about, is how you've changed and Red River Theaters have changed, all for the better, for sure.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so your career choice was so far removed. When I first asked you where you went to college and what you studied, tell our listeners and viewers, Katie Mosher, what you did go to study in Wheaton College.
Yep. So I went to Wheaton College in Massachusetts. It's a small liberal arts college that used to be an all-women's college until 1987 when I went co-ed. And I studied international relations and Russian studies. And I minored in European history. So it's interesting to think, oh, okay, how does this girl still in Concord, New Hampshire? And it's really that experience going to college, and I studied abroad, and I traveled a lot, and I always came back home, and I always thought Concord was a great place to live, grow up, and just experience the world. So just because you study something in school, and it was really like that, I take that back here and I use it in my work in the most interesting ways. Like I don't speak a lot of Russian at work, but there will still be people who are like, oh, you speak Russian, and we'll have like a brief conversation, or there'll be a film that has a lot of international themes or issues. And really just that whole liberal arts experience is something I take back, because it's all community-based and problem-solving.
You're well-rounded.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always thought of liberal arts as being well-rounded and prepared for the world.
And prepared for the world, because it's an experience going to college where you do so many things and you meet so many people, and it helps you become a more well-rounded, developed person, where you can meet somebody with a totally different background than you and really get their experience and be able to tell their story and help bring that either through an event or through just talking about film. It's super. It's like, you're not really doing exactly what you set out to do, and I'm like, that's not always how it works. And I like the journey I've had, because it's really made me who I am, and being tied to such a great place has been something really special to me.
If you're just tuning in, my guest today is Katie Mosher. This is Community Conversations, Concord TV production, and Katie is the events and marketing manager for Red River Theaters, and she started when she was 17 years old, before the theater was even built and completely
Yes,
built,
I think things were finalized during those last couple
and they
months.
had hired an executive director, and she was, Robbie Farshman was hiring, and you were one of the many part-timers. There were more than one, quite a few part-timers, as I recall, when they first started.
Yes,
right?
we had, I I don't actually know how many we had to start, but it was structured a lot differently. I think at the time, Robbie might have been the only full-time person, and now actually in our staff, we only have 2 full-time people, myself and my executive director, Shelley Hudson, and then a lot of the other folks are part-time, but we all work so hard to get that theater going, so even if we're not full-time, part-time, that sort of distinguishing characteristics, we're all working together on it.
And no one can replace the history that you gained. I mean, you're kind of like
Oh,
the
yes.
glue, I'm thinking. You had, the third executive director is now Shelley Hudson. Shout out to Shelley and the staff, Barry and everyone at Red River Theaters. And, but there was Connie Rosemont. That was after Robbie left and she moved away. And so every one of them, you were there.
Yes.
So you learned from them, I'm sure. How do you feel Red River Theaters has grown?
I think, talking about the technology and just talking about the space and the programming and things like that. Red River started with this one idea, and we started showing films, and we started with all this stuff in 2007, and it's grown where now we have the digital projection, and we have all these really interactive, engaging events like the sing-alongs and quote-alongs, or when we bring a film in that's like a classic film and we do a panel, and all the community outreach. It started as sort of like we were our own thing, and now
People come to you.
People come to you,
Right.
and now we can come to other people and be like, hey, you have this event, you have this idea, and trying to get that on the big screen is really super cool to see. That whole development, and the fact that we've all changed. The staffing has changed, the structure has changed in a lot of ways. There are only a few of us who are members of that original staff still on there. I think it's Barry Steelman, myself, and Jeff Somerville, who's the operations manager. So it's sort of those core group. We've seen it, and those guys have seen it even more than I have, because I've seen it from the floor staff perspective for most of the time, but they've seen it from the management as well. So it's definitely grown so much, and it really developed into a very feasible organization too, because as a nonprofit, it's always hard to get your feet off the ground and to really get established. And we still have people every day coming in, oh, I didn't know there was a movie theater down here. But you know what? That's just going to be
That's
how
right.
it is, because we're underground, like it literally underground.
Underground theater.
An underground theater, literally.
But once you get in there are many surprises.
There's so
right,
many surprises.
right.
Just so seeing that develop and seeing so many people know our identity. I think that's the hardest thing, is that branding and then identity and finding a place and knowing what Red River Theaters is about. Because so many people are like, what are you about? And we're like, we're about independent film. We're about our community and reaching out and learning through film and engaging in it in new ways.
Let's talk about film, because you didn't go in for film studies to college,
Oh, no,
but
yeah.
it kind of through osmosis and being around there, you picked up a love of films, and you must know a lot more than when you were 17 years old
Oh,
about
yes.
film. And you're around, let's face it, Barry Steelman,
Oh, yeah.
a wealth of information, and Shelley Hudson as well is very well knowledgeable about film and theater. So talk about some of the films that you get that you've been most excited over the years that have been very popular and that you personally love.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. It always brings
If you
me
can
back.
remember.
Yeah, I'm like, oh gosh, what kind of films have we had? I do remember the first film I saw at Red River was the film Paris Je t'aime, and it was one of those like super quirky, like indie, like all these directors came together and did little vignettes about Paris, and it was really adorable, and it was super cute, and there were these stories, each were this individual story based on a place in Paris, and it was one of those things where it's like felt so cool to be watching it with all these other people, because it's like Paris, that's not a place I had been before. It's not even a place I had like really thought about going, so that was so cool to have that experience. And it's so funny to think about all the movies we've had, because there are so many that have become my favorite movie. It's one of those things where it's like people are like, oh, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, I work at a movie theater. It's hard to pick my favorite movie. And we've shown so many good movies and so many movies that have touched me in different ways. And, like from one of my favorite movies is this super violent but super funny movie called In Bruges.
Oh, we saw it at Red River Theaters.
Great. But it was one of those movies you're like, I wouldn't expect this girl to like that movie that much, but I loved it. And it's just one of those things where
It's a great movie.
You watch a film and you're so connected to it in that moment. And you become tied to like, oh, you know what? I remember the beer that I had seeing like the movie The Master, you know, or like I remember these experiences like, oh, I spilled my popcorn during this thing, or I remember crying in, you know, the movie Brooklyn that we were showing, and like
Brooklyn is playing right now, and I hope it's going to be there for a while because I still have to see it.
A little bit longer. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Brooklyn, let's talk a little bit about the Oscars because Red River Theaters has a good reputation at having an Oscar red carpet viewing, so you've been Red Rivers has shown the winners pretty much.
Yep. We've shown the best
Since day
picture since we've opened. So every year we're always like, oh, are we gonna keep our title? We're gonna keep it because it's so cool to have that knowledge that, you know, from Slumdog Millionaire, one of the first.
That's right.
I think that was the first year that we were open that we had that film, and that was a crazy popular film at Red River, and it was something that really brought the community together. So that was, I think, the first one that won Best Picture, and then, you know, as we keep on going, we've shown it, like we showed Argo, we showed The Artist, so we still have that title as we are the place to see the Best Picture.
And now, of course, Spotlight.
And Spotlight has a great,
so it's a good chance of possibly winning.
We're really keeping our eyes on that one because we really think Spotlight has that, because it's an amazing film, really powerful. It never becomes one of those, you know, cheesy stories about reporters. It just seems very authentic, and it's so important to tell that story, and the fact that, you know, a lot of people still don't know about what that scandal is about.
It's about the true story of the Boston Globe reporters who, a Spotlight column, correct?
Yep, they were the Spotlight team that focused on breaking that story and breaking it the right way.
Abuse in the Catholic Church, right.
Yep, and making that known. So it's super cool that we've had that. And this year we're hoping Spotlight gets it because we think it's just one of those films.
The acting was phenomenal. I mean, I have to say it was a great ensemble. Right?
But
go see it if you haven't been.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's still playing. You should totally go out and see it because it's a great film. You'll be wowed by some of those performances. My
guest is Katie Mosher. She's the events and marketing manager with Red River Theaters, and Katie is giving a different perspective about an employee there, not being the executive director, who, by the way, Shelley Hudson has been on my program before. She's wonderful. But Katie grew up with Red River Theaters as a part-time student in Bow High School and Wheaton College, and then now she is their events and marketing manager. And let's talk about some of the events that you're involved in. How exciting is that for a 26-year-old young lady?
Oh, it's so exciting. And you mentioned that red carpet viewing party. That's our next upcoming event.
And that's $20?
It's a $20 ticket, and
that's
you get
very affordable.
So much out of it. So it's going to be this great fun party. Barry Steelman, as you mentioned before, he's our programming coordinator. He's doing trivia for us. So there's going to be trivia during the commercial breaks. We'll be watching the red carpet, so all the beautiful dresses and all the super interesting outfits will be out there.
Is there a need to dress up to go to this? Or?
For this event, we're doing kind of a low-key, more party atmosphere. So, you know, if you were someone who would be like, I want to wear this snazzy, super sparkly outfit for a party, you can still wear it. You know, there will be a lot of people dressing up. Someone called and asked me, they're like, should I dress in a costume? I'm like, it's really, you make the event. So some people will be dressed up. Overall, most people will be just nice and in that party atmosphere.
So you can enjoy together with a group. If you're really into the films, to see if your prediction, right? Because you will be seeing if
we
people
have the ballots
can predict
too. We've been doing a little ballot contest in our gallery space. Folks have been pulling out the ballots, and we will tabulate a winner, and that winner will win a special prize too. So if you are coming in and you have some ideas about who you think will win, grab one of those ballots, fill it out before the Oscar ceremony on the 28th. and you might win a prize. So it's definitely fun to watch that. And so in addition to the trivia we'll have some other games. I think we're going to be doing a bingo of some sort, and then we'll also have beer and wine tastings.
You had me at beer and wine.
I know,
All
right? Exactly. Like if no one knows, Red River Theaters does serve beer and wine. So
I have to say that one of the reasons I absolutely love going to Red River Theaters is, in addition to seeing the independent films and the community, sense of community, is that I can have a glass of wine while I'm watching a film. It feels a little bit more like a night out.
Exactly. Right. It's just fun, you know, to just have
with popcorn,
have a beer.
Popcorn and wine. Or popcorn and beer.
Exactly. And, you know, it tastes great with any kind of beer or wine. So you're like, some people are like, ooh, this Chardonnay is great with popcorn. I'm like, I didn't know that. Somebody once, a friend of mine sent me a link of all these, you know, popcorn and candy pairings with beer and wine as well. So I was like, ooh, I should get this up there. But yeah, it's so much fun to have something like that, because it's nice to just sit back with your friends, watch a movie, and then you know, have a beer, and then go out to one of the amazing downtown restaurants and sort of sit, or even just go to like Gibson's, to the coffee shop, and just talk about the film afterwards, because that's bringing people together, and it's just part of that experience. So we're really excited to have Great North Ale Works out of Manchester will be doing our beer tasting, so a local brewery, and we'll also have a local winery from Meredith, New Hampshire. Hermit Woods will be on hand as well, so they'll be doing
some
tastings,
wine and beer tasting,
and we'll have a champagne bar as
very
well.
Nice.
So it's going to be
$20 now. Can people? Is there still space?
There are still tickets available.
So better
buy
get
your
them pretty
tickets soon, though,
huh?
because it's definitely going to be worth your $20, and it's $15 for members too. So if you are
as a member, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be worth that price of admission.
So they can go to redrivertheaters.org to get a ticket. And the phone number is 224-4697. Is that correct?
Yep, that's our business line. So if you use extension 12, you can reach me directly. And if you're looking for just the box office, extension 2 will bring it back.
All right. All right, so let's talk about how anyone who's listening or watching can actually rent a theater for a special event. Talk about some of, well, I have to say, I'm going to say that Concord TV has rented the theater, one of the theaters, for a Wednesday, August 24th. And the first time we had over almost 40, if not over 40 kids who took our youth video camps. We're going to be airing this year's group of summer camps and school vacation camps. We're going to be showing at Red River Theaters the film. Some of their films. So this is really exciting. But now that I know that we know at Concord TV that we can rent a theater, they're going to be the parents and the kids are going to be very excited to go and watch their films on a big screen.
Yes. So folks can always rent out the space.
Right. And it's pretty affordable.
It's definitely affordable. We have rates, and we're really there to make it happen for you.
Right.
So if it's something like we're looking at your rates and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that. We work with a lot of nonprofits. We have a nonprofit discount, and we also have other ways.
Which we appreciate.
Exactly, because we're a nonprofit too, and we know how hard it is to get your feet off the ground. So it's definitely, we're there to relate to everyone and really get them going. Like work with them to get that happening. So. You can rent the theater. It's really call me, email me,
email
smoke signal me.
K.A. Mosher, M-O-S-H-E-R, at redrivertheaters.org. And theaters is with Theatres.
R-E-S.
Right.
The British fancier way.
Okay, well, of course.
Exactly.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
You can't have a Red River Theater spelled the other way.
So I just, my husband and I just saw, we saw 45 years. Very moving story. And the only one we haven't seen is Brooklyn, so I better hurry up and go see that one.
So good. I've seen it 3 times. I liked it so much.
I heard about how wonderful it is that we need to see it.
Really beautiful.
So, all right. What do you feel are some other, we have just a few minutes left, but in October you do something very special during Halloween, and that is?
We do the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And sing-alongs.
And it's so the Rocky Horror Picture Show for us is a sing, quote along, movie magic
Dress
extravaganza.
Up.
It's sort of like we have some folks up, helping you with all your props. We have great props. And it's really just a whole event. It's an experience to go up there and, you know, to see this amazingly weird and in some ways not that great film. But it's a great experience.
Well, it's a cult.
It's a
film,
cult thing,
right?
yeah.
And it's just a lot of fun for people who
Exactly.
are right.
Who are really into it and, you know all the different things to say. It's a super fun experience. We do that every October, usually the week before Halloween, and it's usually a Friday and a Saturday.
Now, talk about sing-alongs. You're going to be having the Phantom
Yeah,
of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera is
Sing-along.
March 18th, so it's a sing-along, and it's so basically for something like that, we always try to do some sort of props, something to really get people engaged in the film. We like to do some usually costumes or trivia, things like that. So sing-alongs are really again an experience at Red River Theaters. It's really about getting people to like let go and start singing.
Right.
You know, like it's so fun to like go out with a bunch of people, sing all of these your favorite songs, you know, the things you sing at home or in the shower. You know, like, and you don't even have to be that good, but we will not judge you, because that's the thing. Like, you're singing along with so many other people, no one can hear if you're not that
Oh,
great.
you have a glass of wine and beer, and it's not going to matter.
Exactly.
Right?
Usually people have fun. It's all about having fun and
Well,
really experiencing new
why don't
things.
we're running out of time? Can you believe it? And we were not worried that we'd have a lot to talk about. So 224-4697 if you want to go and to any of these wonderful events at Red River Theaters. You can contact Katie Mosher, who is my guest here today, Events and Marketing Manager at Red River Theaters, K.A. Mosher, M-O-S-H-E-R, at redrivertheaters.org. If you want to rent space, if you want to rent a theater, they also have another little room that you can rent. And to just get involved, become a member. Let me tell you, the member benefits are wonderful, because my husband and I are members, and we're very happy to do it. It's a real community feeling, and you do not have to be from Concord to go to this, because you're going to meet people from all over.
All over the place.
Right. Well, congratulations on the good work you've done.
Oh, thank you.
Certainly, what you're doing there is wonderful in building a community that loves film and can celebrate film, and you bring so much to the organization, I can tell, young lady. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's always good to hear that too,
Yeah.
because it's like when people come into Red River, it's you see these people time and time again, and you want to be like their Barry Steelman. You know, like people come in and they're like, I'm looking for Barry, and I'm like, I wish someone come in and look for me. But it's definitely, I feel like the more that I meet people, it's so much fun to be part of that cool family, environment, and that's what being, in this Concord community is all about.
Go to Red River Theaters. Say hi to Katie Mosher, my guest here on Community Conversations. Katie, thank you so much for being on the program. You're just a joy to have on the show, and a joy to see every time I go into the theater. So keep up the good work.
And thanks again for having me. It's been
fun.
fun.
Anytime. So thank you for tuning in to Community Conversations. I'm Doris Ballard, saying have a great day.